Language is so wild. You could take one sentence, rearrange the words a little bit, use some synonyms or whatever, and it's completely changed in tone. We're going to talk about that in reference to trauma. Hi everybody, welcome. My name is Laura and I want to help you learn to love your demons and reparent yourself. So, today we're talking about Chicago and how to revisit your trauma. So, the plot. So we have two murderers in prison, Roxy and Velma Kelly. They get out of prison through PR stunts and media tomfoolery. And all they want to do is become stars. So, they decide to join forces, to join their clout and become megastars. Now in this scene, they're giving a performance in a sold-out venue, and I want to focus on this one bit that I think is very significant. Why is this scene so powerful? Basically, they're recontextualizing their trauma. What happened to them? Now, you could be thinking, prison didn't seem like much of a big deal. It seemed like a lot of sisterhood and having a good time. But it was a big deal because somebody actually got hung. And they faced a very real possibility of meeting the same fate. So here's the thing. Trauma is this big monumental event, or series of events. It has to be intense and overpowering, otherwise it won't be traumatic. So being that huge, trauma has the potential to define us, but we get to choose how. So what does this mean? Let's break it down into a very simple concept. What they're doing here is they're acknowledging what happened. What I love about this moment is that they get to talk about it. They get to kind of address what happened. So first there's acknowledgement. Like, yes, we've been to prison. Yes, it happened. They're not running from it. They're not denying it. And second, they get to change the story. They're putting a different spin on it. They're changing what this thing means. Okay, so this incident, them going to prison, could have been the thing that killed their career, which is the only thing that they've ever wanted. But instead, it launched them towards stardom. It made their career. And that's what they're emphasizing right here. So they're changing how this memory, how this part of their lives make them feel. So now when they look back to this memory and to this incident, they're not going to feel shame or defeat. They're going to feel victorious. And humor is such an important aspect to it as well, because humor can take away some of that emotional charge because you're not taking it seriously and it's no longer antagonistic necessarily. But, side note, this can easily turn into deflecting if the emotions are not processed. This is such a crucial tool when it comes to dealing with trauma, releasing it. Although I don't want to use the word release because trauma is essentially twofold. One part is releasing the stuck energy and emotions within your body, so it's more somatic, physiological. And the other part is revisiting the memories, the trauma, the thoughts, and working to reframe them. So how do you apply this to your own life? When you're revisiting a traumatic memory, when you feel safe enough, when you're ready, because sometimes a memory can be so intense that we don't want to relive it and kind of re-traumatize ourselves. So when you're ready, and maybe you want to have someone there with you as like support, because that can make us feel safe. So under those conditions, when we go back to a memory, change what that thing means to you. I'm not a believer of everything's inherently meaningless and we just project our own interpretations. But I do think it applies to some things because at the end of the day, we have a very subjective perspective and we're going to see things through a specific lens. Let's take an example. Let's say that as a child, you fell off your bike or your swing and you seriously injured yourself. Okay, and maybe you were bedridden for months. You couldn't hang out with your friends, you fell behind in school, you felt like you were missing out on your childhood, so that was like a dark memory for you. This is kind of the plot to Money Heist, actually. And how he interpreted it was, okay, I lost time in childhood because I was in bed. I don't know what his case was. He had a chronic situation. So I was in bed for all this time. I lost time, and now I'm going to steal time by stealing like a gajillion dollars and retiring really early, you know? And this interpretation does not work for him because it's still letting trauma dictate your life in a negative way. Like, this is victim thinking because you're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to overcompensate for what happened. So trauma is still defining you, like we said. So that's very disempowering. What he could have done, how he could have reshaped this incident is, now I have a deep appreciation for life and my time. So I want to live intentionally. I want to be selective about what I invest and choose to nourish. You know, so there is a way where this doesn't have to loom over you. So by reinterpreting the event and giving it a completely different meaning, you take back your power and you reintegrate your trauma. And that is a very powerful thing. So I hope this helped. This has been shadow work in a few minutes. By a few minutes, I mean 20.